Hello everyone, this is a very special video for me because recently we've hit more than 100 subscribers. I think we're about 180 something, so I never imagined that we would get this far, but there you go. So I wanted to do something special since we hit 123, because that's like, I don't know, that's a cool number. За тези от вас, които не разбират английски язик, ако автоматично не ви зареждат отдолу субтитрите, просто кликнете на малката иконка на настройките и изберете български субтитри и по този начин ще можете да гледате цялото видео без никакви проблеми. The story begins with me visiting a friend who at the time was living in Cheltenham, and I was visiting Bristol because Cheltenham and Bristol are very near to each other and there's lots of things to do and see in Bristol. Unfortunately though, at the time I wasn't making many videos, certainly not as much as I am now, and I wasn't taking any pictures, but thankfully I can show you where I was staying and where I went when I was visiting the city, because I'm going to be using Google Maps and they're actually quite good. So this right here is the hostel I was staying in, and it doesn't look like much, and it wasn't, but as soon as you turn around, you get to see this lovely scenery of the river, and yeah, it's pretty nice. I was very happy with that. So one of my favorite things was to go down this little alleyway down here, and yeah, you can really see the river here. And sometimes I was staying next to this guy. I don't know what statue this is, but yeah, I was sitting on this bench and I was just admiring the scenery because it was really beautiful. And there is another place I really liked going to, and this is connected to the story, by the way, because as soon as you exit the hostel, you just go forward and then turn left, and you have this small bridge which takes you across the river, and there's quite a few bridges here actually. There's two more on the other side, but anyways, for the purpose of this story, we're gonna go through this bridge, and you have loads of cafes, bars, restaurants, clubs. You just name it, everything is here, and there's loads of young people hanging around. But anyways, we've crossed the bridge, and then we just keep on going forward and forward and forward again, and you get to the Millennium Square. And honestly, this was one of the coolest places I've been to, because it's right in the center of everything, and you even have this giant bowl which you can go inside in. So this was exactly the place I visited during my first night there. I even went inside. I don't think you can actually see what's inside there, but anyways, it was nothing special. It was just loads of lights, and I just stayed somewhere around this corner, if I can get to that corner, right next to, yeah, right next to these guys. There's loads of statues, not just here, but all over Bristol, of different people. I don't even know their names, but they're just there. So I was staying right here on this bench, and I was just admiring the scenery, because you have the river right there, and you have a cinema even somewhere here, and of course you have this as well. And this was actually the first night I was staying in Bristol. So this thought came to my mind that I haven't had a serious relationship in a long while, and I sort of made this wish, half jokingly, half serious, that really soon I wanted to meet someone special. And like I said, that was still the first night I was over there. And then I went back to the hostel, and that was pretty much the end of my night. Do you remember in the beginning of the video, I told you that I was visiting a friend who was living at the time in Cheltenham. So the next morning, I took the train, and we saw each other, and we hung out. We even went to the park, which, by the way, it's a really interesting park they have there. So after we hung out for a few hours, I went back to the train station, because I was meant to go back to Bristol, and it started raining. I didn't have a hat, I didn't even have a jacket, and thankfully the train wasn't taking too long to arrive. So I went inside and I had my headphones on because I was listening to music, and I don't usually reserve seats when I travel by train, so I just picked a random spot anywhere in the whole train. But keep in mind that the distance between Cheltenham and Bristol is very short, so it's about 40 miles if I remember correctly, which is, I don't know, 55-60 kilometers. So in other words, it was a very short journey, and the train wasn't very busy. However, there was this girl, and she was sitting on the same row as I was, but she was on the left side. And the first two things that I noticed about her was that she had red hair and green eyes. And like me, she was also admiring the trees and bushes that were outside. But anyway, she was also listening to music. So in other words, you can picture a younger version of Emma Stone. She was really beautiful, and I really want to stress this. The drawings that you're gonna see here are not a visual representation whatsoever. This is why it took me so long from hitting 123 subscribers to now to actually do this video, because I was trying to improve my drawing skills, which are still really bad. I know, I confess to that. I'm not a professional or anything like that, so don't hold that against me. You've been warned. But nonetheless, I really enjoy doing it, so I hope you appreciate it as well. So anyways, I was just staring outside the windows, and every now and then I would just sneak a quick look to the left, and I would still see her. She was just staring at the window and listening to music, so it wasn't very easy to catch her attention. So with each passing minute, I was getting slightly more nervous about how would I start a conversation. And bear in mind that this was more than 6 years ago, so at that time I was extremely shy. Whenever I would talk to a girl, and a beautiful girl nonetheless, I would just freeze. My brain would actually freeze and I wouldn't know what to say. So this was truly how shy I was. And in the background, I could hear,
"This train has 15 minutes until it reaches its final destination."
So I didn't have that much time to do anything. And so because I was feeling way too nervous about this, I decided to just pause, take a deep breath, exhale, take another deep breath, and just go for it. And right at that moment, she turned to her right and she saw me. And I just waved my hand like an idiot because she was listening to music and I said hello. But anyways, that's what I did. And when she saw me and that I was waving my hand, she turned off her music and she said hello as well. For the purpose of the story though, we're gonna call this girl Emma. And from that moment on, I felt very relieved. And one piece of advice I can give myself now, back then, which I hope you can take away from this video, because it's meant to be like a funny story, but also something you can take away from it, is that you can sometimes get way too deep in your own head. And it's best just to count to 3 and just do something. So for example, as soon as I saw her, of course I could have waited for her to turn around. But the easier thing would be just to count 1, 2, 3 and then just say hello. So in a nutshell, the advice is think about what you want to do, count to 3 and don't overthink it. Just do it. So from that very moment, we started talking to each other. And she told me she was from Australia and that she was a student. I was a student as well at that time. And that she was studying something to do with music. So those 3 things are very important for the story going forward. And one more thing I remember that she told me was that her favorite thing to do when she was in Australia was just go and visit some lakes, because the lakes there are so crystal clear and clean that you can actually go inside, but you can still see the sand and all the pebbles and everything else underneath the water, so you can see your own feet and everything underneath. That's how crystal clear it was. And she told me, if you ever visit Australia, you have to make sure you go and visit those lakes. So that's one of the things I have on my wish list, which I need to do. And it's to go to Australia and visit those lakes and see exactly how crystal clear and clean they are. But apart from that, I was just telling her about my studies, and I was even telling her about gastronomy. And she had never met anyone who was interested in cooking before, so that was super interesting to her as well. She also told me that she was traveling from Cheltenham to Bristol because she was babysitting a dog there for a friend who was out of town. And, you know, it was a complete coincidence that we even met that day. And God bless her friend and her dog for the fact that I had the opportunity to meet her at that train. So needless to say, the conversation was going very well. But at some point, I heard that voice in the background saying,
"This train has reached its final destination. Please take care to not forget any belongings on your way out."
So when the train stopped, I grabbed my bag, and she also had a bag and she grabbed hers. And you're probably thinking like, wow, this is the moment where you have to get her number, or at least you have to get an email or something. And trust me, 6 or more years since this happened, I know better now. So this is what actually happened. We both just looked at each other and she said, "Well, it was really nice meeting you, and I had a lot of fun talking to you, and I enjoyed the conversation." To which I replied, "Yep, it was really nice meeting you too, and I enjoyed talking to you too." Okay, so that was it. She just went up and she got off the train, and then I went up and got off the train as well. And since then, I haven't seen her or spoken to her or had any contact whatsoever. And again, I know what you're thinking. I'm thinking the same thing as well. But this is not the end of the story. So after me and Emma met, I decided that I really liked her and it was a total mistake not to ask for her number. So do you remember those key 3 things that I mentioned in the beginning? Oh, I think I actually just mentioned 2 of them. My bad. The first one was that she was from Australia. The second one was that she was studying something to do with music, but then the third one was that she was graduating this year. So she still had maybe a month or 2 until she graduated, and after that she would just go back to Australia. And at that point I just wanted one more shot to get her contact details, just to stay in touch. So what I did was something I've never done before. I've never actually thought about doing that before. So I went online and I searched for any UK university which had a music and media course, because that's what she was studying. And I made sure that it was in its final year, because as I mentioned before, she was graduating this year. And I think I narrowed it down to about 3 universities, and I just looked who the tutor was for each of those courses. And what I wrote was, "Hello, my name is such and such, and I'm really sorry to bother you with this, and I'm not even sure if you can help me with this, but I met a very special girl on the train to Bristol, and I have a suspicion that she might be in your course because we talked a lot, and the only thing that I know for sure about her is that her name is Emma, and that she has red hair, green eyes, and that she's from Australia and she's graduating this year. So please, is there any chance that you can confirm or deny that there may be such a student at your course? I would be immensely grateful." You know, it was something along those lines. I was being super respectful, and I made sure, you know, not to overstep any boundaries. So one of the people who replied to me said that they couldn't give me that information because of confidentiality, which was absolutely fine, and I understand that. So I didn't ask for any more information, but I got a reply from the other 2 universities, and they were pretty sweet replies, I'm not gonna lie. And it was from a male professor and from a female tutor, and they were pretty much saying the same thing. And she even went as far as to mention that it was true love and it was fate that we had met and all of these sweet things. But she was really sorry because she didn't have an Emma on her course. And so she was feeling very sad for me. It was a very heartwarming reply because I could just feel that she was getting sad for me because I couldn't get a hold of Emma, and she believed that it was love at first sight. So anyways, what the male professor had replied to me was, "Well done, lad. Not a lot of boys would do the same thing in your situation. I have a lot of respect for you for even messaging me, but unfortunately I don't have any Australians in my course." So there's no way that I would have a red hair Australian green-eyed girl, and I'm afraid I can't help you with anything else, so I'm super sorry as well. And at that point I was kind of heartbroken, but that's all in the past now. I believe that everything has to happen for a reason, and the fact that at the time I was so super shy and I didn't even ask for her number or her contact details, it was probably a sign that I wasn't ready for such a relationship. And that's pretty much the entire story. So since that day, I've never talked to her again. I've certainly never seen her again. But the good thing is, I don't feel sad about it. Like I said, everything has to happen for a reason, and that reason was because I had to learn some new lessons in life. And I hope by sharing this story with you, you can actually learn some of the things that I had to learn the hard way. And if you're faced with a similar situation, just count to 3 and you'll be fine. So whatever has to happen will happen. And let me know what you think of the story. Just comment down below and tell me if you want to hear more similar stories. Trust me, I have loads of different stories, not just girl stories, but all kinds of life stories I'd like to share. And I'd like to know if you would like to hear them as well. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe because that helps the channel a lot. And it gives me the opportunity to make more videos like this. So I will see you in the next video, and until then, stay awesome.